everyone. You read the title of this video. If you're here, it's either because you're looking for information or you're looking for a fight. Either way, I ask that you watch this video with the intention of learning, not with the intention of proving the other side wrong. Look at the full picture. Don't cherry-pick examples that support your point of view without considering other points of view. And if you feel that I'm doing that, please let me know in a constructive way. Keep in mind when watching this that I love video games, and by no means is a game bad just because it shows some of the mentioned traits. On the contrary, many great games follow the narratives presented. This is a commentary on some problems that are prevalent throughout the game industry, and indeed in media in general, when viewed as a whole. In this video, we're going to briefly go through different ways that women and men typically appear in video games and how these appearances perpetuate stereotypes that are already commonly held about gender roles and requirements. So let's start at ground zero. One of the most common roles that women play in video games is that of a damsel. The female character is captured to give the male character something to fight for. Let's be clear here. There's nothing wrong with a strong man rushing off to save the one he loves. There's also nothing wrong with being a vulnerable woman who doesn't know how to fight. But when these things appear in game, after game, after game, ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Only darkness every day. After game, you start to question whether or not men and women can be anything else. However, it's not just that the women are helpless, it's that that's their entire character. The only reason they exist in the game is to be captured and give the male hero a reason to run to their rescue in a grand adventure. Though not always done this way, as is the case with Sheik from Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, damsels in distress are usually taken away from the hero early on in the game, and don't have any character development or play any role at all other than motivating the hero. You may argue that not all games include this trope, and the shown games simply benefit from having such a strong bond between characters to push the hero forward. While this may be true, if this were the only factor in effect here, you would expect to see just as many video games of women rescuing kidnapped men. There are incredibly few games that take this approach. An easy counterargument to this is the statistic that men, in general, are more physically strong than women. But 99% more strong? So much more strong that near-invincible godlike enemies almost never attempt to capture them, or almost always fail? Doubtful. Though damsels appear in games incredibly often, there are plenty of games out there with incredibly strong female characters. Let's take a look at some tropes that even strong female characters have difficulty getting away from. While damsels in distress generally showcase the gentle, delicate, and easily captured side of femininity, a large portion of stronger females showcase the stereotypically thin, busty, sexier side. Some of these characters, like Bayonetta, are the protagonists of the game. Other times, these characters are among a list of characters you can choose from, like in Calibur. Other times, there may even be a cast of entirely female characters, like in Skullgirls. While having playable females at all is great, constantly showing off their bodies to appeal to players' assumed attraction to women helps to perpetuate the idea that women are only there for that reason. They're there because they're attractive. Now, to fully explain what I'm getting at here, some key points need to be addressed beforehand. Plenty of people have made the argument that busty, strong females are extra empowering because they show that women can be sexy and strong at the same time. Pretty kick-ass, right? Well, yes and no. The real problem with the game industry sticking to sexy powerhouses so often is the lack of diversity. There are many different kinds of women in the world, but for the most part, games are sticking to just displaying one kind. Skinny waist, big bust, and all about showing off skin. There are plenty of characters that don't follow this trend, but it's pretty safe to say that it doesn't take much thinking to come up with characters that do. Compare that, on the other hand, with the difficulty it takes to think of a more diverse character. Lizard people, dwarves, evil geniuses, giant monsters. Thinking of males who fall into these categories is easy. Females, not so much. But hold up a minute. What about the men in these situations? Don't men usually have to play the big, strong, destroy everything and solve problems with force kind of guys? In fact, yes. And that's another large part of the problem, and one that isn't discussed nearly as often. Oftentimes, I've seen this dismissed as a male power fantasy and deemed unimportant. I would argue that the prevalence of the male power fantasy can be just as harmful as the female sexy fantasy. Many male gamers like these characters because they like the idea of a strong male, just as many female gamers enjoy the sexy female characters. However, again, the issue here is a lack of diversity. The gamers who would prefer not to play a buff male or conventionally attractive female are often out of luck. Though I think both can be harmful, let's make a few distinctions here between the male power fantasy and the female sexy fantasy. Firstly, since many video games are about fighting, having male characters that are physically fit makes sense. Having female characters with small amounts of clothing on very rarely makes sense in that context. Secondly, conventionally attractive female is just a much more prevalent trope than strong male. Male characters generally have a large range of body types. Some are large and buff, some are short and stocky, others may be string beans. Female characters certainly have some variance in terms of muscle, but their build is generally much closer to the stereotypical ideal female, with not many short and stocky or overly large characters to choose from. Characters like Ellie from Borderlands 2 really stand out for this reason. There aren't many representations of a larger body type in games. By no means are all games like this. There are plenty of games with female characters and protagonists that aren't defined solely by their body shape or ability to get kidnapped. Characters with compelling stories and multi-dimensional personalities. These are great starts, and many games like them show off a lot of promise for the future of the game industry. And again, the issue here is not that women shouldn't be conventionally attractive, or that they shouldn't be fragile. Bayonetta's wonderful personality and character development shouldn't be ignored just because she's conventionally gorgeous. Likewise, Zelda from Legend of Zelda has been an important and fascinating character in many parts of the series. The issue is that there are so few attempts to make unconventionally attractive female characters. There are plenty of people out there who would like to see female characters who aren't defined primarily as eye candy. On the other side, it wouldn't be bad to see a bit more male eye candy here and there. It's okay for men to be attractive. There are a lot of games out there, and a lot of good and bad in all of them. This video doesn't provide a fully satisfactory explanation of any specific games, but hopefully it can be used as a lens through which to view the world and spark discussions on what needs to be changed and added to video games to make them more fun for a larger audience of players. Thanks everyone for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you've disagreed with something strongly or agreed with something strongly, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Until next time, be kind, be awesome, and make the world a better place. Catch you later. The video's over now, you can leave, bye.